Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing well. Today I've got a very special guest to talk about the Man City game, even though it's very painful for me to talk about it, but I think for you it'd be great for you to talk about it. Ray, thank you so much for coming on my
Oh,
channel today.
very
How are you
welcome.
doing?
What do you think? I'm doing really
You're
well.
brilliant, aren't you, really?
I'm doing really well. I'm tired because I was in London yesterday. I was working in London rather than watching the game, and I think we finished about 9:30. So I still watched, or 9:15. Managed to watch about half an hour of the game, and then obviously highlights. So I think I rolled in at 5 o'clock this morning, and I had to take my lad to school. So I was up about 7:30. So I've had no sleep, but it's been worth it. It's been worth it. Obviously, I'm in a good mood because we won, and to be honest, we won very, very convincingly.
Yeah, I think the way you started as well, so early on, scoring so early on, it didn't make it easy for us. As you said, you watched a bit of the game. From what you saw, what did you make of the game?
It's too easy.
Yeah.
It really was. I mean, look, I think City were all over Arsenal.
Mm.
One of my friends said people talk about City not filling the stadium. Well, at kickoff, there were 11 people short in that stadium yesterday, and that was the Arsenal team because they didn't turn up. And I think it's a bit of that. Obviously, Arteta's been drumming it into them all week that they're good enough and all that, and that it's the destiny's in their own hands and everything else. But I don't think they believed him because they didn't show anything. And I also think City outsmarted them tactically. Some of the changes Pep made. Some people say, if City had lost, they say Pep was crazy for what he did. But what his changes worked, and tactically, I think City outplayed Arsenal. And right now, City are on a roll. Fingers crossed that doesn't change. But I mean, was it 7 or 9 games on the bounce? The football we played, I can't even remember them all now. So just give you some numbers. We beat Leipzig 7-0. We beat Burnley, was it 6-0? We beat Liverpool 4-1. Was it Southampton 4-1? I can't remember. We beat Sheffield United 3-0. And now you guys. So City are scoring a lot of goals. If we get ahead in games, that's usually it. It's gone. And then City just kind of steamroller. So Arsenal didn't turn up. City were on top form. And that's the explanation.
Yeah, Man City, I think they were relentless in everything that they did, really. I think going to the game, I did think it would be quite a close game. I did think, Man City would give us a hard time, but I was quite surprised with Arsenal. Like, I was expecting us to put a bit up of a fight, and like in the first half as well, we were so lucky to only be like 2-0 down. Like Ramsdale, obviously, I think for the first goal he could have done better there, but I think for a lot of them he did amazing with all the saves. And were you like surprised from Arsenal because this season we have been really good. I never thought we would be in the position we are now, but I just thought it was so easy, like, for Man City to get through our defence. Like, I know Saliba's out and we have sort of struggled recently, but were you really surprised that Arsenal didn't turn up?
Well, you've got, I mean, we played you 3 times this season, beat you each time.
Yeah.
First time it was in the FA Cup. That was tough, but you didn't really do a lot. Last game, you were okay for a while when we beat you at your place. In the first half, you're probably the better side, if I remember correctly. So I was expecting something like the last game. And up to about 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, I said, easily Arsenal are the best team in the Premier League to watch. They're a better watch than Man City. Just because you're doing what Man City are doing, you're doing the same sort of things, but you're doing it quicker. It's a much faster pace. You've got younger players who want to make things happen quickly, so you're in a much more enjoyable watch. It's still a good watch, but for different reasons now because you're letting in loads of goals, and it's crazy. This stat I read this morning that with all your defenders like Saliba and Zinchenko and Tierney and who's the other one? Gabriel. People have been bigging them up and everything else. You've let in more league goals than Chelsea.
That's so bad.
More league goals than Chelsea, and that's one of your problems. Your squad isn't good enough. I mean, Holding, it wasn't just, people are blaming Holding, but it wasn't just his fault. No one turned up really to protect the defence. But you need some better quality. When Saliba's out, you notice he's not there. When Partey's not there, you notice it. When Gabriel Jesus not there, you were lucky enough to have Nketiah step up. But there are key positions. You've been lucky as well in the transfer window to get Jorginho and Trossard. But in defence, I don't think you got good cover. I don't think you got good cover when you lose one of your key players like Saliba or Gabriel.
Yeah, I think as well, like with Tomiyasu out, I think he's obviously a big blow. Like, because as you said, like we could have put Ben White with Gabriel, but because we've got no cover there, we've had to put him in that right back position. But yeah, I think like you said, like obviously I still think we probably would have lost the game if Saliba still played, possibly, because I just think Man City, I just think they're just levels above everyone. And like you said, when we played you this season, we've struggled to win. And yeah, I just think our cover, I think Rob Holding, like, I agree with you. I think he is someone that people just give a lot of stick to. But I just think if we're wanting to win the league, I think we need someone that's sort of on Saliba's level. Because I think Rob Holding's a good defender, and I don't agree with like the criticism he gets really, but I just think, I think Saliba's been a big blow, but I think it would have still been hard to beat City because they were just so quick. And the control in the midfield for me as well. Like Partey for me has been excellent this season, but recently, I don't know why, he's just not been his usual self. And I think Jorginho deserves more time actually because he's got that experience and we obviously need that in the team. So I'm I feel a bit disappointed really because we didn't really show any fight. I was expecting us to do more. I mean, the fans turned up, which was great, but the players didn't. And I just want to ask you, like, about that. Why do you like talking about responsibility for Arsenal? You know Arteta very well, obviously. Do you think he has much to blame in that game, or would you kind of put it down to maybe the lack of experience with the players? Or
I'm not going to. I don't think it's going to be down on Arteta because I think one of the things is City have been here before. Most of these players have been here before. I mean, none of them were here in 2012 when we came back from a bit behind United to, I think it was 8 points behind with 6 games to go. City won the title. 2014, City did it against Liverpool. I think KDB came after that, but a lot of them have been here the 3 times I think we've done it past Liverpool, or twice since. So it's like Real Madrid winning the Champions League. They won it so many times years ago, and it's kind of part of the DNA of the club now. So even the players now, just before this current purple patch for Real Madrid, they still hark back to what they did in the 50s and 60s or whatever. And it's the same with City. So City have now got this history going back over 10 years of winning the title when it's tight down the stretch. If City are there, City win. That's basically it. And everybody else knows that. So there's some of the Arsenal players, I think some of them would have been overawed. They've not been in this situation before. Everything's gone wrong. They've been losing games, or not losing games, losing lots of goals, leaking goals, drawing games they should have won. All the last 3 games, they should have won them. Against Liverpool, they were miles better until Liverpool suddenly got back into it. Same with West Ham and against Southampton. It was like, well, just have to turn up to win. And it didn't happen. So all that pressure is starting to tell. And as I said earlier, even though Arteta's telling them that they're the best, they can compete with City and everything else, the players don't believe him. Next year, in the same position, the players will believe him more. I mean, they might remember this year and say, well, we didn't do it last year. We got stuffed. But I think each year they will get a little bit more confidence, a little bit more belief. They'll get more belief, than the belief that Robbie from AFTV was trying to talk about. If you're not seeing the video, it is cringeworthy where he's going around the Etihad. I mean, people call it his Churchill speech, or someone else said it's his Martin Luther King speech. he's walking around the stadium, and then the music starts, and it's just terrible. It really was. I know it's a different channel. I've just got to say it was absolutely cringeworthy. But I think next year you'll be better, and each year it'll change. I mentioned Rob because a few years ago when Arteta came, even before Arteta, I used to go down and do interviews with those guys. And I said, you've got to give it time. You've got to give it time. It'll take a few years to turn things around, because you were at that point, you were just going further and further back. And I said, eventually you'll turn it around. I think I remember once when I saw him with Unai Emery, and all the fans were really unhappy because you got beat quite badly. I think it was 2 or 3 at home. And I said, it just takes time. And even with Arteta, I said, a bit tongue-in-cheek, but you've got to give him time. And a lot of people were having a go at him because it wasn't happening. Now Arteta's got the players he wants. Now he's had a bit of time to coach them. You've seen what he can do. So, unlike somebody's once said, Arsenal have got the guy who puts the cones out for Pep. That's not true.
Yeah, a lot of people said that. That was a bit harsh.
Well, look at it now. Look, but they're fair weather fans. When things are going well, they were jumping up and down, and now things are obviously they got, let's be honest, humiliated yet last night. Those fans are turning again, so they're flip-flop fans. They're not good to a club really. If they're gonna, when things are good, they're all champion you. When things are bad, they're not got your back. But next year, I think you'll spend some money. You bought players in this window, in the January window, to help in the areas that you thought you needed. You thought you needed covering midfield with Jorginho and attacking a player like Trossard, and you did well. Obviously, you didn't think you need somebody in defence, because your defence was actually pretty decent. But the last thing I'd say about the defence, you can put all sorts of players in odd positions if the rest of the team are playing well. That's why Zinchenko at left back for City worked. He was the weakest link at City. That's why Fabian Delph played at left back for City, because the rest of the team was so brilliant and had so much control of the game that they could cope with having him there. They could carry him. And Arsenal are not in that position. So if Holding's having a bad game, the rest of the team aren't good enough to carry him. The rest of the team were brilliant. You'd notice a lot less, the mistakes that Holding's making. So but each year you'll get a little bit better. So this summer, you'll go out and get another good centre-back. You'll go out and get, I reckon, another midfielder. You'll get 2 or 3 players. Your squad will get stronger. So when you're in these moments again, these clutch moments, you've got your better players to call upon, and you've got players who've got experience. So I think you'll still go out and get young players. Mostly you're getting young people. It'd be good to get someone who's won something, and that can help you get over the line. I mean, Zinchenko and Jesus have, but they were bit part players. You want someone who's won something and who was an important player in the early 20s, and I think next year you'll be much better.
Yeah, I definitely think it's down to experience as well. I think Jesus and Zinchenko, they have definitely helped us, especially with their mindset. They're very positive, and they've got a really positive influence on this team. And I think we just need more of that experience. So yeah, I think regarding the league title, I don't think it's possible now. We'll do it. I think Man City, I don't think I think it's impossible that they'll they've got 2 games in hand. I don't see you dropping any points, and you do also obviously have the Champions League, but you're able to balance that out with different competitions. So, do you see it it's over now for Arsenal regarding the league?
Well, Arsenal can't win the league. Okay,
yeah,
Arsenal can't win.
I don't see it happening.
City can only lose it. So Arsenal cannot win it, because the worry about the Champions League is that game after we play in Madrid. We've got Everton. Everybody's talking, Everton might, they're fighting for their lives. But now the City have got that cushion. If we win one of our games in hand, then we go ahead of Arsenal. So we could actually lose to Everton and still be ahead. We've just got to win, I think, 5 games. Probably 5 games is enough for us. I think you've got 5 left, but you look at, all right, Chelsea, you're going to stuff Chelsea. Newcastle and Brighton are your two hard games.
Newcastle for me is the one that I'm looking at. I'm a bit worried about because they're really good this season.
Well, Newcastle are doing really well. They're fighting for top four. So, it's going to go down to the wire. Brighton could still sneak into the top four. Brighton want to be in Europe, and Brighton, they're one of the best sides in the league. But I think as well that one of their issues is mentality. Like in the FA Cup semi-final, they were better than Man United. They should have beat them, but they didn't. So you've got two games against teams that are fighting for European spots, and they've actually played pretty well this season. And Newcastle have bounced back. So, from a little blip. So it's going to be tough. And I can see you dropping a point somewhere, especially if City keep winning. If City keep winning, I think you'll drop a point. It's up to Arteta now to galvanise the players. He's got to say, you've got no other distractions. You've got no Europe. You've got no FA Cup. Focus on the league. You've got all this time. You want to be trying to win all your 5 games because you don't want to just hand it to City. Because if City, for instance, drop some points, the worst thing would be if Arsenal drop some points as well. And then you're just handing it to City, let City fall over the line. You've got to make City work all the way so that Pep has to be putting out his best players all the time. No one gets a rest. And next season, they'll remember Arsenal pushed us all the way, And I can see City dropping the point somewhere, but I can also see Arsenal dropping something.
Yeah, I think for us, because I think going to the City game, obviously Arteta has tried to make them believe, and they just really haven't. I don't think we believed enough in the game. We've not really won our last 4 games. I think since the Liverpool game, I think we were better, but then they got into the game and it was a game we should have won. But I guess Southampton, West Ham, we should have won them both. So I think when we played Man City, I didn't want that game to be the title decider because I sort of didn't think we could win because Man City were very relentless. They just never stop. And yeah, I think for Arsenal, it does feel disappointed. I think no one expects us to be in the position we are. And we've got Champions League football next season, which is important for the club. But I guess because last season we were in a position to get top 4 and we missed out on it. And this season it feels the same. But I think I'll take where we are because I think it's quite good considering how the season's gone. But as someone like you who's outside of Arsenal, if you look back on this season for Arsenal, would you say coming second's a good season? Because we were so close to winning the league and we've missed out. So how would you look back on the season for Arsenal?
If you finish second, it's a good season.
Yeah.
Regardless what people say, we were clear, we should have won it. No. Okay. You had I think the first 19 games, I'm trying to remember, did you win 16, lose 1 and draw 2? Or it was something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's incredible. That's getting 100 points. Okay. Was it 50 points in half the games? That's only one team's got 100 points. So you're on course for another 100 points. It's a level of football and results that match what City did a few years ago and that Liverpool what they did as well. So that level was right up there. So I think you were punching above your weight because no one's weight is there because City punched up there for a while and now they dropped back into the mid-90s. Liverpool punched up there, they've dropped back. And Arsenal were for half the season punching up there. You can't sustain it. It's very difficult to sustain it. Things will obviously happen, injuries, form, luck, and you can't, because in some of the games in the first part of the season, you were pulling out wins from nowhere. Even now, the Bournemouth game, I don't know how you got that. Was it Villa?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Well, you look at these and part of it is being champions. That's what you do. You pull the stuff out of the bag. But also you got to accept that some of them you were a little bit lucky. You can't sustain it. And you're going to have, at some point, come back down to earth because you're playing above your level. And maybe Arsenal's... I mean, even if you get 85 to 88 points, that's really good. I guess that would have won half the Premier Leagues. The number of points you're going to get this season, unless you collapse now, the number of points you get will have won loads of titles. It's just that the bar's moved. City have set that bar so high. You need 90 points just to to compete. So I look at it as a good season overall. You should have done better. I'm not worried about the cups, but you should have done better in the Europa League. I think.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree.
but,
Yeah.
but if you stand back and say, what did we want from this season? The minimum Arsenal wanted was to finish in the top four, because last season you bottled it. You did a Spurs last season, very Spursy. It's
Yeah.
something about North London. It was your spot, that top four, and you give it up. So I think you look at it and say the minimum you wanted was top four. You've got top four. You finished second. Most Arsenal fans would have taken fourth at the start of the season. If you say we're not going to get anywhere in the cups, but we're going to finish fourth in the league, I did have taken that, and that you're going to do better than that. You'll finish second. So I think, yeah, it's a cracking season, and it's something to build upon for next year.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, no one thought we would do it. I think for me, going to the season, we did have to get Champions League football.
Yeah.
I think that if we didn't, then I think some changes would have to be made at the club. But yeah, I think it's always hard when you get so close and then you fall behind, and we're so close to the end, and I just don't think we have the squad depth to compete like at the moment with the Europa League as well as the league, because obviously with the Europa League we did get some injuries like Saliba's, and that just happens in football. But I guess with City's team you can afford injuries because you've got a big bench.
No, but if you're honest about it, City have actually one of the smallest squads in the league. They don't have that many players. We've got the 11, then you've got Foden, you've got I'm trying to think. You'll have Foden and Laporte, Mahrez. Those three. So our bench has got kids on it. So you got Rico Lewis, he's 18. You got Gomez, who's 21. Fisher in the Premier League. Cole Palmer, I think, is 19 or 20. The goalie is backup keeper. So we haven't got a lot of depth. What we have got is 3 or 4 quality players. So the goalkeeper's a decent backup keeper. And as I said, on the bench, we normally have Foden, Mahrez, Phillips. No one's really keen on Phillips, but we've got 4 or 5 players, and the kids are quite a decent level. And as I said, if everybody else around them plays to a high level, you can put someone like Cole Palmer on or Rico Lewis, and their quality will show. They've got a decent quality anyway, but the rest of the team will help them through games. And Arsenal haven't got that. You've got people. Yeah. So when you lost Jesus, you got Nketiah, and he did well for a few weeks. So you've got it in certain positions, but you've got no backup for Saliba, no proper backup for Partey, Odegaard. Who replaces him? So you need,
Yeah.
In the City, we've got Bernardo, we've got KDB, we've got Gundogan, and Pep can mix them up and pick 2 out of the 3. Sometimes he'll pick all 3, but he's got a choice. He can rest somebody, or someone's injured, the other 2 go and play. Arsenal haven't got that. You want Partey to play, you want Odegaard to play. If they're injured or suspended, who covers for them? Nobody.
Yeah, I think that's a problem as well. I mean, Elneny, I think he's a good servant for the club, and obviously he's injured. So if, like you said, if Partey is having a bad game, I mean, we've got Jorginho, but I think he was always short term. But I'm happy with him, and I think for me, like the biggest sort of issue I'm like trying to think about now is like with Arteta, like I'm very much behind him, and I'm like happy with how things are going. And I think I've seen enough now to believe in him and believe, in what he's doing. But the only sort of thing I don't understand for him is like sometimes maybe he can be a little too stubborn, maybe because I think for me, playing City, if he changed the team, I would have probably liked that more because Partey, some of our players just haven't been performing well. So I think for me, changing it up, I would prefer, because at least I've seen Arteta's tried something different. It's not worked out, but at least he's had a go. So I think for me, I would like to see that in our next game. I mean, I think it's good to play it safe against Man City, because if you guess when we played Vieira a few games ago, I think he struggled,
Yeah.
and um, I think maybe Trossard should be given more of a chance, but I guess it's hard really with that not having, that experience, like having that backup. We don't have that experience that can really step in and do the job, but I do give the players the benefit of the doubt because they can all they can do is the best, but sometimes, yeah, it's just a bit hard
The
on
thing
that really.
They've done really well all season. You've got to
Yeah,
go with the best. You can't. If Arteta changed the team up, changed his tactics too much, and you got stuffed 4 or 5, 6, everybody would be on his back. And they're not as much on his back because you've done so well this season. You've got to go to the guys who have done most of what you've achieved this season. You've got to go and stick with them, And this was pretty much all of them apart from Saliba. So you got to ask the guys as well why they didn't turn up. Saka, nothing from your forwards really. Martinelli, nothing. Jesus, I had one of my mates said he didn't think he was playing. He didn't think he was.
yeah, they were very quiet.
Nothing happening. And when there's nothing happening, they've got to make something happen. And there's no one. Maybe Saka and Odegaard, but I think those are the only two that can make something happen out of nothing. Occasionally the others will do it. But you look at what KDB did. Out of nothing, he makes things. And I think that's the difference between world class and wannabe world class. Now, you got kids who might make it in the next 3 or 4 years, but you can see KDB stepped up and shook that game up and down. And he was fantastic. And Haaland started doing stuff that we've never seen. He's not got a good touch. He's not got good control, but his hold-up play was fantastic. We could just launch the ball to him, and he could control it and lay it off. He was brilliant. And I think that's the thing. City stepped up,
Yeah.
and Arsenal stepped away.
Yeah, I think so. I think for me, watching that game, I did think Man City were quite above, like, I wouldn't say levels above us. I think we're getting there, but we're just not there yet. I did think we would win the league. I think throughout the whole season, I've really took it a game at a time because I guess in recent seasons we have collapsed, we've crumbled. I think we've had a mindset problem, but this season we've done really well, and I guess we do have a bit of experience, but we've got so many young players as well.
Yeah.
So I didn't expect this, but I think considering how well we've done, I don't feel devastated. I feel devastated, but I think I do feel okay because we're second, and I think that's really good for Arsenal. I did want to get your thoughts though about Arteta. What have you? I know you've said before you even when Arsenal fans have been Arteta out, you've sort of seen what he's been able to do here. What have you made of like the job he's doing? And I guess not everyone's believed in this process until now. Did you kind of see it happen? Did you see him succeeding here at Arsenal?
The thing is, no one believes in the journey until you get to the destination.
Yeah.
And no, Arsenal fans didn't believe it when you were struggling, when you were going down. It's like going in a maze and you're taking all these dead ends, messing about with Pepe and Lacazette and Aubameyang and other players who, really didn't need to be there. And now people can see that he can achieve. I think he'll be backed more because the board will trust him. They've got to trust him because he's got them Champions League for the first time in, was it 7 or 8 years? So he's got them Champions League again, football. He's going to get them a lot of money, and they trust him. So I think you'll have the finances to go out and spend money, big money on players. Having the Champions League football will attract a better quality of player. Definitely. You hear all the stories about Jude Bellingham and Liverpool. Well, who wants to go to Liverpool if they haven't got Champions League? Now, that kid is still young, whatever, 19 years old, and Liverpool might be bouncing back next season. It'll only be one season you're in the Europa League or something. But people are short-term. They have this short-termism where they don't want to go somewhere where they haven't got the top competition. So you're in a situation now, you've got that Champions League, you'll get better quality players, you'll expand your squad, your experience will deepen. So all this experience, the good and the bad, the high moments and the low times, you'll remember that. And the players will tell themselves, we don't want those low moments again. But they'll also reinforce the highs. Remember what we did against Bournemouth. Remember how we scored late on against Villa. Remember how we pulled this out of the bag. Remember how we destroyed Liverpool or whoever it was. They'll take all the good stuff and the negative, the disappointments. They'll say, right, we don't want to be there again. And you saw some Arsenal fans crying because you lost. You had players arguing on the pitch. So they'll take all that and they'll process it, take the good stuff and keep the good stuff, and the bad stuff they say, no, we don't want that. And I think that'll make a difference next season. And you got to obviously stick with Arteta. You can see what happens when you boot managers out. Look at Chelsea, look at Spurs, look what happened at United. You've got to, if you believe you've got the right manager, you've got to stick with them for a while. Look at Pep's first season at City. We struggled to finish fourth. And after that, look at it, we won 4 titles in 5 years. And if we win this year, 5 out of 6. So you've got to give the guys a chance.
Yeah, I think with Arsenal, since Wenger's left, we have been a bit of a mess. And I think Unai Emery obviously brought in some good players. And, he was the one that sort of got Saka to play. And Martinelli as well, got him. And I'm always grateful for that. But I do think, Arteta coming in, I think it has been a bit of it's been quite of a bumpy road, really. I think it's been hard, really, because he's had to sort of get rid of players that haven't been good enough, bring in the right ones. And I felt with Arteta, he needed the right players to do what he wanted to do, because with the players that weren't really good enough, it's hard to implement that style of play that he wanted. So I think with Arteta, it has been hard. There's been times where I've been worried in my head, will we ever get through this? And I think, this season, to be honest, I wanted top 4, but I would have liked to have won maybe an FA Cup. But
yeah.
I think considering we're second, I'll take that. And I did want to go and actually talk about your season. You probably win the league. I'll take it as you will, because Arsenal, I'm not very likely. Obviously, you've got United in the FA Cup final, Champions League semi-final, I think. So do you think you can win them all? How are you feeling about it all?
If we play like we played in the last 3 or 4 games, if we can sustain that, then no one comes near City right now. And that's not arrogance. It's just fact. It's what you can see. And if City can beat the second best team in what probably will be the second best team in the league 4-1, and it should have been 6, 7, or 8. I mean, Haaland had at least 4 decent chances to score. So, and we could have had that penalty in the first minute. So it could have been a rugby score, cricket score, whatever you want to call it. So it could have been like that. And if we play like that against Real Madrid won't know what's hit them. They won't be able to handle City. It's whether the weight of expectation will weigh heavy on the shoulders of the City players, because they'll remember what happened last year against Madrid. They remember, they were through. That Jack Grealish should have scored or wasted time, and they were through to the final. And they got obviously we know what happened after that. So that's the only thing. I don't think they'll be complacent. If they're complacent, then obviously that's a problem, because you just need to drop off a few percent, and that can cost you. So I think the league should be done. FA Cup, if we play like that against United, we will batter them. But it goes back to mentality. It's going to be mentality then, because United have a good record against City, while Pep's been here. I think they've probably got the strongest record whilst he's been in England. So, but if we go out and do our stuff, we win. For me, like most older City fans, we want to win the league. That's number one. League, for me, I think this year, League, Champions League, FA Cup, in that order. I'd like to win the FA Cup because, I won it 3 times in my lifetime. I go back to the 60s. But there's a very good chance. But we just got to sustain it. We're in a purple, but the thing is, we're in a purple patch, and how long can we keep this going for? To ask us to do it for another 10, 11, 12 games, that's hard. It's not easy. So I think it's going to be tough. But first thing is, I want the league, and last night will help us, win the title again, hopefully.
Yeah, I think with the FA Cup final, I think that'll be quite a tough game, really. But I just think when I see United, they're in like a situation where they're transitioning. They've got a new manager. They have been better this season, but I just don't think they're there yet with Arsenal and Man City. And I think they'll want to win something. But I hope you win that one because I can't deal with Man United fans coming at us. On the Champions League, you've got into the finals before. I think, when you played Chelsea, I think Chelsea were a bit better, but I think this is really important for Man City to win, for the club. How are you feeling regarding the Champions League? Because I know that's important. You've been very successful with the leagues, but Champions League's just as important as well. So how are you feeling about that?
As I said, if the thing is, if City turn up and play like we did against Arsenal and play like we did against Liverpool, and the last few games, we'll beat Real Madrid. But Real Madrid are a funny animal because they're struggling. They've been struggling in the league in Spain, but in the Champions League, they're on fire. They're like a different animal. And they, like last season and other seasons, they know how to pull it out of the fire. So always going to be worried about Real Madrid, always, because they can do that. It's just that we know we are better. We've seen we're consistent. That's the thing. Real Madrid right now, we're a cup team. They win, they're doing well in the Champions League, but in the league, I think they got beat the other night by Girona as well. But they were losing the last time I saw. So they're not doing well, but they'll turn it on in the Champions League. And what do I think of Spurs? Well,
We know that.
We always have a laugh at Spurs.
Yeah, they're quite funny to laugh at.
I hope Liverpool, for Harry's sake, I hope Liverpool don't bounce back. I hope they keep on falling. The fans are nasty. And Spurs, who likes Spurs? Only Spurs fans like Spurs. No one else likes Spurs.
Yeah, no one does. I think for me as well, like, because Spurs in last few seasons, they've always finished above us. Yeah. It's nice to be back where we belong, above them. But yeah, I've really enjoyed doing the stream. It's great to talk to you. Before we go, could you just let people know where they can find you on? I know you do YouTube, so maybe just tell people a bit about that on your channel.
Yeah, City Fan TV on YouTube. Don't do as much as I used to, but life is more important than doing YouTube all the time. Normally it's going to be around games. That's most of my stuff now, and previews of games on team news, and then post-match reaction. That's mostly what I do. Maybe the press conferences for the manager, and occasionally I still do some finance stuff and some other transfer news and bits and pieces. But I used to do videos, sometimes 2 or 3 videos a day, but cut it back because YouTube is fun, but it's not a job. So you got to keep it within a reasonable level. So stuff like this, it's always good fun talking to people from other channels and other support, fan bases.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed this. The stream has gone by so quick, and it was definitely great to hear your point of view about things, and I really enjoyed it, and I hope you all did in the comments. Thank you all so much for tuning in, for leaving us some messages. Remember to subscribe to Ray's channel, and yeah, I'll see you all very soon. Thank you again, Ray, for coming on.
No problem. You're welcome.
Bye.